Part 1. The night that changed everything. Alex worked alone that night, just like he had for the past 3 months. The observatory was quiet except for the soft humming of computers, analyzing signals from deep space. At 32 years old, he had dedicated his entire life to studying the stars, hoping to find something extraordinary out there in the vast darkness. It was past midnight when his equipment started acting strange. The readings on his screen showed energy patterns he had never seen before. At first, Alex thought his instruments were broken. He checked everything twice, then 3 times. But the readings remained the same. Something was out there, and it was getting closer. Alex stepped outside the observatory and looked up at the clear night sky. Puerto Rico's mountains stretched endlessly around him, covered in thick forest. The stars looked normal, but his instruments insisted something unusual was approaching Earth. He had been tracking unusual signals for weeks, but tonight felt different. Then, he saw it. A soft, blue light appeared between the trees, moving silently through the forest. It wasn't like any aircraft Alex had ever seen. The light pulsed gently, almost like it was breathing. His scientific mind told him to run back inside and call the authorities. But curiosity kept his feet planted firmly on the ground. The light grew brighter as it came closer. Alex could now see it was some kind of craft, perfectly round and smooth, like liquid metal. It made no sound as it landed in a small clearing about 50 yards from where he stood. The blue light dimmed, and for a moment, everything was perfectly still. Alex's heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. 5 years of studying astrophysics had prepared him for many things, but not for this. He thought about running, but something inside him whispered that this was the moment he had been waiting for his entire life. A section of the craft opened without any visible door or hatch. Light spilled out, but it was warm and welcoming. Not harsh like the floodlights he was used to at the observatory. A figure stepped out, and Alex's breath caught in his throat. She looked human, but not quite. Her skin had a soft, silvery glow that reminded Alex of moonlight on water. Her hair was long and seemed to move as if it was underwater, even though there was no wind. She was tall and graceful, wearing clothes that looked like they were made from starlight itself. But it was her eyes that captured Alex completely. They were deep blue, like the ocean at night, and they held intelligence and kindness that made him feel safe despite the impossible situation he found himself in. "Please don't be afraid," she said, and her voice was like music. "I come in peace." Alex tried to speak, but only managed to make a small croaking sound. The woman smiled, and Alex felt his fear begin to melt away. "You're the one who has been sending signals into space," she continued, walking slowly toward him. "Your messages have been reaching us for months. We've been watching your work." Alex finally managed to say, "My people, we live among the stars, in a place you call the Andromeda Galaxy. I am Zara, and I rule over the council that governs our worlds." Alex stared at her, his mind struggling to process what he was hearing. You're an alien queen," Zara laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I suppose that's one way to put it, though we prefer to think of ourselves as your distant cousins. We evolved on different worlds, but we share more than you might think." They spent the next hour talking by the edge of the forest. Alex found himself telling Zara about his work, his dreams of finding life beyond Earth, and his belief that humans were ready to join a larger community of intelligent beings. Zara listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions about human culture, science, and philosophy. "Your people have such beautiful emotions," Zara said as they sat on a fallen log, looking up at the stars. "We have learned much about logic and technology, but we have forgotten how to feel the way humans do. Your art, your music, your capacity for love, these things fascinate us." Alex found himself drawn to this mysterious being in ways he couldn't explain. She was intelligent, kind, and genuinely interested in understanding humanity. As the night wore on, he forgot that she was from another world. She felt real and warm and wonderful. "Why did you come here?" Alex asked as the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon. "To learn," Zara replied, "and to see if your people are ready to know they're not alone in the universe." For thousands of years, we have watched your species grow and develop. Some of my people believe humans are ready for contact. Others think you need more time. What do you think? Sarah looked at Alex with those deep blue eyes. I think humans like you give me hope. You search for truth. You dream of something greater than yourselves. And you have hearts capable of incredible love. As they talked, Alex felt something happening between them that went beyond words. There was a connection, an understanding, that seemed to bridge the gap between their two worlds. When Sarah reached out and touched his hand, Alex felt warmth spread through his entire body. I have to leave soon, she said softly. My ship can only remain hidden for so long, and my people will be expecting my report. Will I see you again? The words came out before Alex could stop them. Sarah smiled sadly. That depends on what my council decides. If they believe Earth is ready for contact, I will return. But Alex, you must understand, if that day comes, everything will change. For you, for me, for both our worlds. As the sun began to rise over the mountains, Sarah stood and walked back toward her ship. Alex followed, not wanting this incredible night to end. Remember this night, she said as she paused at the entrance to her craft. And remember that love can exist between any two beings who truly understand each other. Before Alex could respond, she leaned forward and kissed him gently. In that moment, he felt connected not just to her, but to the entire universe. It was as if all the stars were singing in harmony. Then she was gone. Back inside her ship, the craft rose silently into the air, its blue light growing fainter until it disappeared completely among the morning stars. Alex stood alone in the forest clearing, wondering if any of it had really happened, but the warm feeling in his heart and the lingering scent of starlight in the air told him it was real. His life had been forever changed by one incredible night with a queen from the stars. He had no idea that in just 3 weeks, she would return with an offer that would take him further from home than he had ever imagined possible. Part 2. When everything changed. Days after meeting Sarah felt like living in a dream that Alex couldn't wake up from. He went through the motions of his daily routine at the observatory, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. Every time he looked at the data on his computer screens, he remembered her glowing skin and kind eyes. Every time he stepped outside at night, he hoped to see that familiar blue light returning through the trees. His coworkers started noticing that something was different about Alex. Dr. Johnson, his supervisor, pulled him aside after catching him staring out the window for the 3rd time that week. Alex, you've been distracted lately. Is everything okay at home? Alex wanted to tell him the truth, but he knew exactly how that conversation would go. I met an alien queen in the forest, and now I can't stop thinking about her. Nobody would believe him. They'd think he was having some kind of breakdown. I'm fine, Alex lied. Just tired. I've been working late shifts for months. But Alex wasn't fine. He had started documenting everything about that night, writing down every detail he could remember. He filled 3 notebooks with descriptions of Sarah's ship, her appearance, their conversations, and the incredible feeling of connection he had experienced. He even drew sketches, though his artistic skills couldn't capture the way she seemed to glow from within. At night, Alex found himself unable to sleep. He would stand on his apartment balcony, looking up at the stars and wondering which one was her home. He had never felt so alone in his entire life, yet at the same time, he felt more connected to the universe than ever before. 2 weeks passed without any sign of her return. Alex began to wonder if he had imagined the whole thing. Maybe his coworkers were right. Maybe he had been working too hard and his mind had created an elaborate fantasy to cope with the stress and loneliness of his isolated job. But then, on a stormy Thursday night, everything changed again. Alex was at home, trying to force himself to eat dinner while rain pounded against his windows. The weather forecast had warned of severe thunderstorms, and the power had already flickered several times. He was just finishing his meal when he heard something that made him freeze with his fork halfway to his mouth. It wasn't a sound exactly. It was more like a voice inside his head, gentle and familiar. Alex. He dropped his fork, and it clattered against his plate. The voice came again, clearer this time. Alex, can you hear me? It's Zara. His heart started racing. He looked around his empty apartment, wondering if he was finally losing his mind. I'm not there with you, the voice continued, and Alex realized she was speaking directly into his thoughts. I'm communicating with you through our ship's systems. We don't have much time, Zara. Alex whispered aloud, feeling foolish but desperate to respond. Yes, it's me. I'm in orbit above your planet. The Council has made their decision about Earth. Alex held his breath, waiting for her to continue. They believe your people are not ready for open contact yet. There's too much conflict on your world. Too much fear and mistrust between different groups of humans. They worry that revealing our existence would cause panic and chaos. Alex felt his heart sink. He had hoped that meeting him would convince her people that humans were ready to join the galactic community. But Zara's voice continued. They have approved a different plan. We will take select humans back to our world to help prepare both our civilizations for eventual contact. These humans will serve as ambassadors, helping us understand your species while learning about ours. Alex's pulse quickened. What are you saying? I'm asking if you want to come with me, Alex. Tonight, right now. The question hit him like lightning. Leave Earth, leave everything he had ever known. I won't lie to you, Zara continued. If you come with me, you may never be able to return to Earth. Our worlds exist in different dimensions of space and time. The journey between them is not something that can be taken lightly. Alex's mind raced. He thought about his job at the observatory, his small apartment, his sister Katie who lived across the country and called him once a month. He had no close friends, no romantic relationships, no pets, no major responsibilities tying him to Earth. His entire life had been dedicated to studying the stars, dreaming of the day humans would reach out to touch other worlds. How long do I have to decide? He asked. The storm above us will provide cover for my ship for the next hour. After that, we must leave whether you're with us or not. One are to decide the rest of his life. Alex walked to his window and looked out at the violent storm. Lightning split the sky every few seconds, illuminating the dark clouds that seemed to stretch on forever. Somewhere up there, Zara was waiting for his answer. He thought about their night together in the forest. The way she had looked at him with such understanding and kindness. He remembered the feeling of connection, of finally finding someone who shared his wonder about the universe. He thought about spending his life among the stars with someone who truly understood him. Then he thought about Katie. She was the only family he had left, and she would never know what happened to him. She would spend the rest of her life wondering where her brother had gone. Alex sat down at his desk and pulled out a piece of paper. If he was going to do this, he needed to leave her something, some way to know that he had chosen this path willingly. His hand trembled as he wrote, Dear Katie, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I can't explain where I'm going in a way that would make sense, but I want you to know that I'm not running away from anything. I'm running towards something incredible. I've found my purpose among the stars. If I never come back, please know that I'm happy and that I love you. He sealed the letter in an envelope and wrote her name on the front, Zara. He said aloud, I'll come with you. He felt her joy wash over him through their mental connection. Are you certain? Once we leave Earth's atmosphere, there's no changing your mind. Alex looked around his apartment one last time, at his bookshelves full of astronomy texts, his telescope by the window, his collection of star charts and photographs from the observatory. This had been his world. But it suddenly felt very small compared to what awaited him among the stars. I'm certain, he said. Then step outside. I'm sending down a transport beam now. Alex grabbed the letter for Katie and walked to his apartment door. He paused with his hand on the doorknob, taking one final breath as a permanent resident of Earth. Then he opened the door and stepped into his new life among the stars. The last thing his neighbors would remember was a bright flash of light during the storm, and the strange fact that Alex's apartment was found completely empty the next morning, with no sign of where he had gone. Part 3. Life among the star selects woke up feeling like he was floating, which turned out to be exactly what was happening. He opened his eyes to find himself in a room that defied everything he thought he knew about. Physics, the walls curved in impossible ways, and soft light seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Through a large window, he could see stars streaming past like rivers of light. "You're awake." Zara's gentle voice came from behind him. "How do you feel?" Alex tried to sit up and found himself floating gently toward the ceiling. "Different," he said, laughing despite his confusion. "Very different." Zara smiled and touched a panel on the wall. Slowly, Alex felt himself settling back down onto what he assumed was a bed, though it felt more like lying on a cloud. "The journey through hyperspace affects humans differently than it affects us," she explained. "Your body needs time to adjust to our environment. Don't worry. The floating sensation will pass in a few hours." Over the next 3 days, Alex learned that traveling between galaxies was nothing like the science fiction movies he had watched as a child. There was no dramatic whooshing through space, no flashing lights or dramatic music. Instead, it felt like being wrapped in a warm blanket while the universe gently rearranged itself around him. Zara spent those days helping him adjust, bringing him strange but delicious foods and explaining how things worked on her ship. She told him about her people, the Andromedans, who had been traveling between stars for over 50,000 years. "We've learned much about science and technology," she said as they shared what she called a light meal, but what looked to Alex like liquid starlight in a crystal bowl. "But we've forgotten how to feel deeply about things. Your emotions, your art, your music, these things are precious to us because we've lost touch with that part of ourselves." When they finally arrived at Andromeda Prime, Alex's first sight of an alien world took his breath away. The planet was covered in cities that seemed to grow like crystal formations from the ground. Towers twisted up into the clouds, connected by bridges that looked like they were made of pure light. In the distance, he could see forests of trees that glowed with soft colors and oceans that sparkled like liquid jewels. "Welcome to my home," Zara said, taking his hand as they looked out at the incredible view. But what surprised Alex most wasn't the alien architecture or the strange beauty of the landscape. It was discovering that he wasn't the only human there. At the Orientation Center, Alex met David, a Renaissance artist who had been taken from Earth in the year 1543. Despite being over 500 years old by Earth time, David looked no older than 40 and spoke perfect English, which he had learned from other humans who had arrived over the centuries. "Time works differently here," David explained as he showed Alex around the facility. "We age much more slowly, and we can learn new languages by touching these special crystals that transfer knowledge directly into our minds." Alex also met Dr. Rebecca, a quantum physicist who had disappeared from her laboratory in 1976. She had been working on theories about parallel dimensions when the Andromedans contacted her. "I've learned more about the nature of reality in my time here than I did in 20 years of research on Earth," Rebecca told him excitedly. "They've shown me mathematical principles that won't be discovered on Earth for another 1,000 years." There was also Chen, a Chinese philosopher from the Tang Dynasty, and Maria, a Spanish explorer from the 16th century. Each human had been chosen for their unique perspective and their ability to help the Andromedans understand different aspects of human nature. "We are the Cultural Integration Project," David explained. "Our job is to help prepare both species for the day when Earth will be ready for open contact." Alex threw himself into this work with enthusiasm. He spent his mornings learning about Andromedan society and technology. Their cities were powered by captured starlight, and their transportation system used controlled gravity to move people and goods instantly across vast distances. They had eliminated disease, hunger, and even aging, but in doing so, they had also lost much of what made life meaningful. His afternoons were spent with Zara, exploring different parts of the planet and learning about her role as queen. Unlike Earth royalty, her position was based on wisdom and service rather than birthright. She had been chosen by the council because of her ability to understand and connect with other species. "My people respect logic above all else," she told him as they walked through a garden where the plants responded to emotions. By changing colors. But you've taught me that logic without feeling is cold and empty. Your presence here has already begun to change how some of us think about what it means to be alive. Alex found himself falling deeper in love with Zara every day. She was brilliant and kind, but she was also learning from him how to laugh, how to feel wonder at simple things, and how to express emotions that her people had forgotten centuries ago. But not everyone on Andromeda Prime was happy about the human presence. Commander Vex, a powerful member of the Council, believed that humans were too primitive and dangerous to be trusted with advanced technology. Look at their history. Alex overheard him arguing with other council members one day. War, violence, destruction of their own planet. These creatures are not ready to join civilized society. The tension came to a head when Robert, a human who had been brought from Earth in the 1800s, suffered what the Andromedans called dimensional displacement syndrome. The stress of living in an alien environment for decades had finally overwhelmed his mind, and he became violent and unpredictable before the Andromedans could help him. This proves my point. Commander Vex declared at an emergency council meeting that Alex was allowed to attend. Humans are unstable. We should end this project immediately and return them all to their primitive world. Alex felt his heart sink as he watched several council members nod in agreement. Everything he had found here, his purpose, his love for Zara, his chance to help prepare humanity for a greater destiny, was about to be taken away. But Zara stood up to address the council, her voice clear and strong. "Honored members," she said, "we must not judge an entire species by the breakdown of one individual. In the years since the Cultural Integration Project began, we have learned more about emotion, creativity, and the meaning of existence than we had discovered in the previous 1,000 years. Alex has shown us that humans are capable of great love, wisdom, and growth." She turned to look at Alex, and he saw something in her eyes that gave him hope. "I propose that we continue the project, but with additional support systems for the human participants, and I volunteer to take personal responsibility for their well-being and success." The council voted, and by a narrow margin, the project was allowed to continue. But Alex knew that they were now under intense scrutiny. Any mistake, any sign that humans couldn't adapt to Andromedan society, could end everything. That night, as he and Zara stood on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City, she took his hand and looked up at the unfamiliar stars of the Andromedan sky. "I want you to know," she said softly, "that whatever happens with the council, these past months with you have been the happiest of my very long life. You've taught me what it means to love someone completely." Alex squeezed her hand, knowing that their greatest challenges still lay ahead, but feeling ready to face them together among the stars. Part 4. The Return to Earth after 5 years in the Andromedan realm. Alex had become someone he barely recognized from his old life. He could speak 3 alien languages, understand technology that seemed like magic, and his mind had expanded in ways he never thought possible. Most importantly, he had found true love with Zara and a sense of purpose that filled every day with meaning. But that peaceful life was about to change forever. Alex was in the Crystal Gardens, teaching a group of young Andromedans about human art, when Zara appeared with an expression he had never seen before. Her usual calm demeanor was replaced by something that looked almost like fear. "The council has called an emergency meeting," she said, her voice tight with worry. "Something terrible is happening on Earth." In the great council chamber, Alex watched as images from his home planet filled the air above them. What he saw made his heart sink. Earth looked different than when he had left it 5 years ago. The ice caps were smaller, the oceans were rising, and massive storms raged across continents. But worse than the environmental damage were the signs of human conflict. Cities burned in several locations, and news reports spoke of wars over water and food resources. "Your species is approaching what we call a critical juncture," explained Council Leader Thane, an ancient Andromedan whose wisdom was respected throughout their civilization. "Based on our observations, humanity has perhaps 10 of your years before these problems become irreversible." Alex felt sick as he watched the images. This wasn't the Earth he remembered. His home planet was dying, and his people were fighting each other instead of working together to save it. "What can we do?" he asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "Normally, we would allow a species to find its own path," Thane replied. "Our laws forbid interference in the natural development of other civilizations. However, we believe humanity has unique potential. Your capacity for emotion, creativity, and growth could contribute greatly to the galactic community if you survive long enough to mature as a species." Zara stepped forward, her royal robes shimmering in the chamber's soft light. "I propose we send a small mission to Earth to provide subtle guidance, not direct interference, but gentle nudging towards solutions that could save their world." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some council members supported the idea, while others worried about violating their most sacred laws. Commander Vex, who still opposed human involvement in Andromedan society, was the most vocal opponent. "This is exactly why humans are dangerous," he declared. "They destroy their own world and then expect us to save them. We should let them face the consequences of their primitive behavior." Alex wanted to argue, but Zara placed a gentle hand on his arm, warning him to stay quiet. This was Andromedan politics, and humans had no voice in the council. The debate lasted for hours. Finally, by the narrowest possible margin, the council approved the mission. But there was a catch that made Alex's heart race with both excitement and terror. "The mission will be led by Queen Zara," Thane announced, "and it will include the human Alex, whose knowledge of both our civilizations makes him uniquely qualified to help." Alex looked at Zara and saw his own mixed emotions reflected in her eyes. They would be returning to Earth together, but they would also be leaving behind the only home they had known as a couple. The preparations took 3 weeks. Alex had to relearn things about Earth that he had forgotten, while Zara studied human psychology and sociology. They would be accompanied by 2 other Andromedans, Dr. Kale, a scientist specializing in environmental restoration, and Lieutenant Nova, a security expert whose job was to keep them safe from Earth's military forces. "Remember," Thane warned them before they departed, "you cannot reveal yourselves openly to humanity. Work through existing human institutions and leaders. Plant ideas that will grow naturally. If you are discovered, the mission will be considered a failure, and you will all be recalled immediately." The journey back to Earth felt different from Alex's original trip to Andromeda. This time, he was nervous about returning to a world he was no longer sure he belonged to. 5 years among the stars had changed him in fundamental ways. Would he still understand his own species? Would they understand him? Their ship arrived in Earth's solar system on a cloudy Tuesday morning. As they approached the planet, Alex could see that the changes were even worse than the council's images had shown. The Amazon rainforest was smaller, several island nations had disappeared beneath rising seas, and the lights of human cities seemed dimmer than he remembered. "It's worse than I thought," Zara said softly, taking his hand as they watched their home world grow larger in the viewing screen. Their plan was to land in a remote area of Canada and make their way south, establishing contact with key scientists and environmental leaders who might be receptive to new ideas. But everything went wrong almost immediately. As their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. Lieutenant Nova's voice came over the communication system. "Tense with urgency. We've been detected by military satellites. They're scrambling fighter jets to intercept us." Alex felt his stomach drop. He had hoped they could arrive quietly and begin their work without attracting attention. Instead, they were about to become the biggest story in human history. "Emergency landing procedures," Zara ordered. "Take us down in the most remote area you can find." The ship shuddered as Nova pushed the engines beyond their normal limits, trying to outrun the approaching fighter jets. Alex watched through the view screen as missiles streaked past them, missing by mere meters. "Hold on," Nova shouted. "This is going to be rough." The ship crashed into a dense forest in northern Canada, sliding through trees and snow for what felt like miles before finally coming to rest in a small valley. Steam rose from the damaged hull, and warning lights flashed throughout the cabin. "Is everyone okay?" Zara called out. Dr. Kale had a cut on his forehead, and Nova was limping from a twisted ankle. But they were all alive. However, their ship was badly damaged, and Alex could hear helicopters approaching in the distance. "We have to abandon the ship," Nova said, checking his instruments. "I can set it to self-destruct so Earth's military doesn't get access to our technology." Alex's heart sank as he realized what this meant. They were stranded on Earth with no way to contact Andromeda and no way to complete their mission. Worse, they were about to be hunted by every government on the planet. "The mission isn't over," Zara said, reading the despair on his face. "We'll find a way to help your people, even if we have to do it without our ship or our technology." As they gathered what supplies they could carry and prepared to flee into the Canadian wilderness, Alex couldn't help but think about how different this homecoming was from what he had imagined. Instead of returning as a bridge between two worlds, he was now a fugitive on his own planet. But as he looked at Zara, her determination shining even in this desperate situation, he knew they would find a way. They had found each other across the vastness of space. Surely they could find a way to save the world they both loved. The helicopters were getting closer, and their new life as refugees on Earth was about to begin. Part 5, Love Beyond Worlds. For 3 weeks, Alex and his alien companions lived like fugitives in the Canadian wilderness. They survived on wild berries and fished from mountain streams, while government helicopters searched the skies above them. Dr. Kale and Lieutenant Nova had been injured in the crash, making their journey south towards civilization slow and dangerous. But Alex wasn't thinking about the helicopters or the cold mountain nights. His mind was focused on one person, his sister Katie. For 5 years, she had believed he was dead or missing. Now he was back on Earth, and all he wanted was to see her again. To explain where he had been and why he had left, we need to split up, Alex told the group as they huddled around a small fire one evening. "You're trying to save the whole world, but I need to find my family first." Zara looked at him with understanding in her eyes. "I know you miss her, but Alex, if the military finds you, they'll capture all of us. Your government has been searching for any sign of alien contact for decades." "Katie might be our best hope," Alex replied. "She's a journalist now. She investigates strange stories for a living. If anyone will believe our story and help us spread the message about Earth's danger, it would be her." After much discussion, they agreed to take the risk, using Dr. Kell's damaged communication device. They managed to send an encrypted message that only Katie would understand. It contained details about their childhood that only Alex would know, along with coordinates for a meeting place. 3 days later, Alex waited alone at an abandoned gas station near the town, where he and Katie had grown up. His heart pounded as he saw a familiar car pull up. When Katie stepped out, Alex almost didn't recognize her. She was older, more confident than the little sister he remembered, but her eyes were the same. "Alex," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Is it really you? It's me, Katie. I'm home." She ran to him, and they held each other for a long time without speaking. Alex felt tears streaming down his face as 5 years of separation melted away in that single moment. "Where have you been?" she asked when they finally pulled apart. "I've searched everywhere. I became a journalist because of you, following every strange story, hoping one of them would lead me back to my brother." Alex took a deep breath. "Katie, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible, but I need you to trust me. I've been living among the stars with people from another galaxy, and now I'm back because Earth is in terrible danger." For the next hour, Alex told her everything about meeting Zara, about life on Andromeda Prime, about the mission to save humanity. Katie listened without interrupting, her journalistic training helping her process information that would have sent most people running. "You're asking me to believe that my brother has been living with aliens for 5 years and has come back to save the world," she said when he finished. "I know how it sounds. But Katie, look around you. The storms are getting worse every year. The ice caps are melting faster than scientists predicted. People are fighting over food and water. We're running out of time." Katie was quiet for a long moment, studying her brother's face. "You look different," she said finally, "older, but also, I don't know how to describe it. Like you've seen things that changed you." I have. And one of those things is love, Katie. Real love with someone who understands me completely. The alien queen. Her name is Zara. And she's the most amazing person I've ever met. She gave up her throne to come to Earth with me. She believes in humanity's potential, even when we don't. Believe in ourselves. Before Katie could respond, they heard the sound of helicopters approaching. Alex's heart sank as he realized they had been found. They tracked our communication, he said. Grabbing Katie's hand, we have to run. But Katie pulled back. No, Alex. Running won't solve anything. You came back to save the world, remember? Maybe it's time to stop hiding. 3 black helicopters landed in the parking lot, and soldiers poured out. Surrounding them with weapons drawn, Alex raised his hands, but kept himself between the soldiers and his sister. Don't hurt her, he called out. She's not part of this. A man in a dark suit stepped forward. Dr. Alex Chen, you've been missing for 5 years. We have a lot of questions for you. I'll answer them, Alex said. But first, I need you to understand that I didn't come back alone, and we're not here to harm anyone. We're here to help. Over the next several hours, Alex found himself in a government facility, being questioned by people who seemed to know more about alien contact than they let on. They showed him photographs of his crashed ship and asked detailed questions about Andromedan technology. Where are your companions? The lead investigator asked for the 100th time. Safe, Alex replied. And they'll stay hidden unless you give me a reason to trust you. The breakthrough came when Katie, using her journalist credentials, managed to get a message to Dr. Patricia Wells, the head of NASA's astrobiology program. Dr. Wells had been secretly preparing for alien contact for years and recognized the opportunity. When she heard Alex's story, bring them in, she told the military commanders. If there's even a chance that this man can help us solve our climate crisis, we need to listen. The reunion between Alex and Zara happened in a sterile conference room, surrounded by government officials and scientists, but when their eyes met across that room, the rest of the world seemed to disappear. Are you hurt? She asked, rushing to his side. I'm fine. But Zara, they want to help. Some of them, anyway. Dr. Wells stepped forward. Your Majesty, we understand you've come here to offer assistance with our environmental problems. We're ready to listen. For the next 3 days, Zara, Dr. Kale, and Lieutenant Nova shared carefully selected pieces of Andromedan science with Earthstop researchers. They showed them new ways to capture carbon from the atmosphere, technologies for cleaning the oceans, and methods for generating clean energy that could replace fossil fuels within a decade. But not everyone was happy about the alien presence. Military leaders wanted to capture the Andromedans and force them to reveal all their secrets. Politicians worried about how the public would react to news of alien contact. On the 3rd night, as Alex and Zara walked through the facility's garden, under heavy guard, she took his hand and looked up at the stars. The Council has been trying to contact us, she said softly. Our mission was supposed to be secret. When they learn we've been discovered, they'll order us to return immediately. And if we refuse, then we can never go home again. We'll be cut off from our people forever. Alex felt his heart breaking. He looked at this incredible woman who had already given up so much for him and for his world. Zara, I can't ask you to sacrifice everything for Earth. Your people need you. She turned to face him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Alex, in 5 years among my people, you taught me something they had forgotten. You taught me that love is more important than duty. That connection matters more than power. I choose you. I choose Earth. I choose the chance to build something beautiful together. The next morning, they made their decision public in a press conference that was broadcast around the world. Alex and Zara announced that they would be staying on Earth permanently. They would work with human scientists to develop the technologies needed to save the planet, and they would help prepare humanity for eventual contact with the galactic community. The response was mixed. Some people celebrated the news as the beginning of a new age for humanity. Others feared what this alien influence might mean for human independence. But in the months that followed, as new technologies began to reverse decades of environmental damage, Even the skeptics had to admit that the aliens' help was making a difference. Alex found himself working as a translator between two worlds, helping humans understand Andromedan science while teaching Zara and her companions about human culture and emotion. It wasn't the life he had planned, but it was the life he had chosen, and every night, as he and Zara watched the stars together from their new home on Earth, Alex knew they had made the right choice. Love had brought them together across impossible distances, and love would help them build a bridge between their two worlds. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together, proving that some connections are strong enough to span the universe itself.